Disney's Lorcana has been taking the TCG world by storm, and a lot of people have been asking the question, how do you play the game and is it worth getting into? Well, don't worry, I'm going to answer both of those questions here for you today. I'm going to walk you through the basics of the game and how to read the cards, and then we're going to do a little bit of an example of how to play and get to kind of show you what it's like to get into your first game of Lorcana. So let's dive in. Welcome back, players and collectors, to my channel, Ren's Collectibles. If you're new here, I'm Ren, and yes, today we're going to go through some Lorcana, teach you the basics of the game. So without further ado, let's look down on the camera below, and here I have a starter deck. It is a basic starter deck, the Emerald and Ruby starter deck, and I'm going to take you through how to look at the cards, how to read them, and kind of guide you through the basics on getting you on your way to your first game of Lorcana. So to start things off, we have character cards, we have item cards, and we have action cards. And there's actually a special type of action called songs. So these three card types you see right here make up the core of the game, but there's actually one more very important card type, and that is ink. Ink is the mana essentially of what you would play to build up and use as cost for your cards here. So as you can see, Jasper up on the top left corner has a cost of 3, which, by the way, all cards have their cost on the top left corner. The only way to get it is by paying 3 ink, which all of these cards that have this symbol up here with the cool looking border around it, and I'll give you an example of one that doesn't have it so you can kind of see the difference here. This one with the cool border is what can be played as ink. So if you have this card in your hand, let's say you have 2 of these in your hand and you want to play one, but you don't necessarily need the other, you can declare to your opponent that this card is going to be ink in your inkwell, and you play it face down. It now is no longer a Jasper character card, it is ink. It is 1 ink. That 1 ink is what you use to play these cards. If you want to play your other Jasper, you need 3 ink in your inkwell in order to play him. So now that we know what the 4 real types of cards are in this game, let's start taking a look at them. First up, we're going to take a look at characters. So characters have the cost in the top left corner. Again, all the cards will have their cost up in the top left corner. But as you go down the card, you see their name. It's Jasper the Common Crook. He has a sub-character type of Storyborn Ally. And you'll notice that not everybody has the same thing. Like this Aladdin here is a Storyborn, but he's a hero and a prince as well. If you look just to the right of all that, you'll see these 2 numbers here. The number on the left that looks more like a sun is what's called strength. It's basically your attack stat for a character. The symbol on the right that looks like a shield, that is your willpower or your defense stat. Moving down on the card, right here you have the ability. So this one has the ability Puppy Napping. Whenever this character quests, chosen opposing character can't quest during their next turn. So he has the ability that if you were to quest with this character, which we'll explain what questing is in a minute, then you tap it, or exert it in this game is what it's called, and then you get to declare which opposing character can't quest on their next turn. Moving down the card here, you have the flavor text at the bottom, which has no real impact on the game. It's just fun little quips and statements, usually found within the show or the movie, that just kind of bring a little bit of life to the character, or maybe a funny bit. On the right side, you'll see this little star-looking shape here. That is what is lore. So the way to win the game is not by attacking and defeating your opponents. It is by getting to 20 or more lore counters within the game. This card in particular only quests for 1 lore. So if you exert your card, tap it, and declare that he is going to quest for you for lore, he's only going to get 1 lore. which seems like a small amount, but once you get a few of them built up in there, you can quest for lore pretty quick. Moving on to the second card type here, we have the item, which this one is the Stolen Scimitar. Again, has the card cost up in the top left corner. It'll tell you it's an item right there in the middle where the character subtype would be on the character card. But then it has the actual effect. So slash, you must exert it. That's what the symbol means right there. Chosen character gets +1 strength this turn. If a character named Aladdin is chosen, he gets +2 strength instead. So item cards are permanents that go onto the field just like characters. You play a character, it's going to stay there until it's removed. Item card is the same way. You place it, and it's going to stay there until it's removed. Action cards are the final type here, and they're the only ones that kind of go out in instant speed. You pay the cost, you play the card, you do whatever the effect is, and then you just discard it right away. So this one says deal 2 damage to a chosen damaged character. So your opponent must have a damaged character. You play this, you deal 2 more to it, hope you knock it out, and then you just discard it. There's the special type of action, though, as I said earlier, the songs. So this one can be played for free with a 3 cost or more that can sing the song. So essentially what you want is a 3 cost character like Jasper here out on the play area. And then since he's a character with a cost of 3 or more, he can sing this song for free. And basically it just gets the added effect. So return chosen character to their player's hand. So it's basically like another ability that they gain for that moment. So the only other thing for these 3 cards up here is once you use them, so if you're going to use the item or if you're going to use your character to quest or to challenge another opposing character, you do what's called exerting. You tap them, essentially. If you play Magic, you know what tapping is. You just turn it sideways, and that indicates that you've used the card and can no longer use it for the turn. It's spent. With characters, you have to be careful, though, as well, because if you choose to quest with a character and you exert it in this way, know that an opponent can challenge your character and essentially go to combat. So combat looks like this. Let's say our opponent has the Aladdin here and we have Jasper. Our opponent has quested with Aladdin on the previous turn because you can only challenge an opposing character if it has already quested. If it did not quest and they did not exert it, you cannot challenge it. Only if it's been exerted. So in this scenario, I would say I am challenging Aladdin while he's out on his quest. We're going to go head-to-head combat. This is where the attack and defense stat come in. Basically, it's just like how Magic plays when you go to combat. My attack will match up with their defense, and if it's the same number or greater, I will knock that opponent out. If, for example, it's if we did this attack right here and I attacked as Aladdin, I have an attack of 2. He's got a defense or a willpower of 2. So they cancel out. I knock out this Aladdin. However, since his Aladdin has an attack or a strength of 2, and I have a defense or willpower of 4, I am going to receive 2 damage counters to my Jasper, to my character. And those damage counters don't go away. They stay until either Jasper is removed from the field of play or the game, or he's healed up by some ability or card. So the damage stays permanent, and it's the way you can kind of knock out your opponent and manage their side of the playing field. So now that we have the basics of how to read the cards and play, we're going to simulate a turn or two here with the starter deck that we have. So to start off, you're going to, before the game, both opponent and yourself will shuffle your deck. This is not the most effective way of shuffling, but I don't have these in sleeves, so this is what I have to do. You're going to shuffle your deck, and then you draw 7 cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You decide who goes first by either rolling a dice, flipping a coin, however, rock, paper, scissors, however you guys want to decide who goes first. The thing is, whoever goes first does not get to draw on their first turn, which is important because during any upkeep phase or any turn when you start, you're going to resolve any effects of characters or items, anything, actions like that are still on the field of play that might start up at the beginning of your turn, and it will say it if it has anything like it. So like, for example, the Aladdin says when you play this character, each opponent loses 1 lore. So that's an effect that's upon playing. If it has something that said at the start of your turn, draw 1 extra card, then you get to draw that extra card. So you're going to resolve effects first, and then you're going to draw a card. And I forgot to say, you're actually supposed to, at the same time, you ready your cards as well. So if you had an exerted character out there, you will also ready them up for use again on your turn. But for every basic turn you play, you're going to look at your cards, decide which ones you really want to play, which ones you don't. I have 2 of these Sergeant Tibbs here. I don't necessarily need both of them, and I need lore, so I'm going to take one of them, declare that as my ink for that for the turn, and I'm going to play it face down. And now that I have that, should I decide to actually play the other one, I can exert 1 ink and play Sergeant Tibbs. Now he does come into play with that Summoning Sickness, can't attack that turn, but I will put him up here and get him ready to go. Our opponent has their turn. They've done whatever they need to do. They pass the turn to us. We're going to do the same thing again. We are going to ready our board, our stated board here. We're going to draw a card, and we're going to resolve any abilities that had anything on the field to play, which we don't. But then I'm going to look and go, okay, I don't really need Scar. I'm going to put him down as ink. And then I'm going to play something else like this, Vicious Betrayal. I'm going to exert 1 ink, and I'm going to play Vicious Betrayal for 1. Chosen character gets +2 strength this turn. If a villain character is chosen, they get +3 instead. I'm just going to set that down to simulate that I'm resolving the action here. Sergeant Tibbs is an ally. He's not a villain, so he does not get the +3 buff, but he does get the +2 buff. I'm going to go ahead and discard that, and then I'm going to, if my opponent has a character that's questing, I will then just declare it as challenging my opponent, and now he is going to attack with 4 instead of 2. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the basic and simple way to play the game. And again, the name of the game is to quest up and get as much lore as you can. The first one to 20 or more lore wins the game. So it's not about knocking out your opponent. It's about getting to that lore as fast and as strategic as possible. Because you also want to prevent your opponent from hitting 20 or more lore as well. But I hope that helped you here today. If it did, remember, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you want to see some Lorcana gameplay, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. Comment down below that you want to see it. And I will try to do a deck demo very soon to show you guys how a game is actually played, what it looks like from start to finish, so that way you guys can have a better understanding of how to play. But at least with this, you can kind of pick up a deck, you understand how to read the cards, and you can go into your first game with a little bit of knowledge. That's all we have time for today. Thanks again for hanging out with me, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video.